Hey, let's take a look at the truth about those immigration enforcement raids in California a couple of days ago. Everybody, I'm Steve Green with Bill Whittle and Scott Ott. This is Right Angle, brought to you by the members of BillWhittle.com. Gentlemen, the more we learn about those ICE raids and the people arrested at a couple of California marijuana farms last week, the more we're reminded, and I'm going to put this as nicely as I can, about what a sleaze bucket grifter Governor Gavin Newsom really is. And before I get to the details, I want to apologize first for the strong language and for tarring run-of-the-mill sleaze bucket grifters with the same brush as Gavin Newsom. I was unfair to a lot of people, and I'm very, very sorry about that. But the point of it is that ICE and DHS last Thursday raided two licensed Southern California pot farms located in Camarillo and I don't even remember the name of the other town, but both facilities are owned and run by the same company. It's called Glass House Farms. I want you to stick a pin in that name. Now, Bill, 361 illegal aliens were arrested during the two sweeps, and it included, or those arrested included, criminals with convictions for rape, kidnapping, child molestation, burglary, hit-and-run driving, and DUI. And this is my favorite part. They were working alongside almost a dozen illegal immigrant children in pot fields, keep in mind. And 8 of those little kids were unaccompanied. So, trafficked is probably a pretty good word to use for them. And your sleaze bucket governor was almost immediately on social media running interference for Glass House Farms. He was aghast at the raid. He went on Twitter, on X, to say, kids running from tear gas, crying on the phone because their mother was just taken from the fields. The mom who wasn't there. Who runs interference for a gang of criminals like this?
Does he have a share in Glass House?
Oh, that's
tax dollars.
That's a good question.
Gavin Newsom is genuinely. He's almost like a mythological distillation. How Dionysius was the god of wine and inebriation, and Apollo is the god of poetry and music, and Newsom is like the it's almost like he materialized out of the ether, in the form of when enough progressives put their minds together and visualize the same thing, he manifested himself out of a volcano or something. He's everything. He's everything that the progressives adore. He's handsome. He's got a great hairstyle. He's very smooth. Very charming. There's absolutely nothing there except for a void where integrity would be.
Ouch.
He is a perfect creation of 21st century progressivism. He honestly, Steve, seriously, the more I think about it, he really truly is almost like an AI avatar for the left. He says the things that progressives want to hear. He says them in a way that they want to hear them. He doesn't stand for anything. And when he's off script, in other words, when he's not connected to his to his AI power source, he's as helpless as a baby. He's simply unbelievably awful in genuine crises. During the, I used to fear.
Oh my God, he's the white Obama.
I thought I was the white Obama. No, he really is. And I remember during the Palisades fires that I was shocked, relieved, and appalled at how incompetent he was in the face of a genuine crisis, because I actually feared him as a presidential candidate because of his talent set. But everything about Newsom is, like I said, he's almost like an AI avatar. If you take him out of the box, he just becomes just lines of code, So to say that children are being separated from their families, I that's the line. That's the entire strategy of the left to prevent these deportation of criminals. They're not hit and run drivers. They're not rapists. They're not this. They're honest, campañeros who came to just to get bread for their families and all of that. But these kids are working on a marijuana farm out there, and they're surrounded by sex offenders among others. And his job is to convince the other idiots in California that that this is something, that there's something wrong with this picture. Parenthetically, I might add, he's finally revealed that the fires that destroyed Pacific Palisades, which is some of the most prime real estate in the country, is absolutely spectacular. We find out now that a large percent, or at least some significant percentage of the houses that were burned in that fire are going to not be rebuilt as individual homes, but as low-income housing. Low-income housing in Pacific Palisades. I don't know. I don't even know where to start with that, other than to say the idea of putting low-income housing in Pacific Palisades is kind of like the it's like the Uber code for Newsom. You know what I mean? It's so fundamentally at odds with the reality and economic reality and fairness and justice and reason and all of it. It's the assertion of theory in the face of reality, and I just have thought for the longest time, and continue to think more and more every day, that the guy is simply a walking $800 haircut, and I mean, seriously, he just leaves me speechless.
Yeah, it's kind of the flip side of driving past a strip mall where you see a dollar dry cleaner and a massage parlor and a Tiffany's.
Oh, by the way, this would be a good time to show the Babylon Bee headline that I showed you guys earlier. So we'll put it up for our viewers here.
Oh yeah, put that up. I got to take another. There we go. Another winner from our friends at the Bee. All right, Scott. Now, you might hope, I hope, that Glass House Farms is going to be subject to an investigation into its hiring practices, not just because of illegals, not just because of convicted criminal illegals, but also children unaccompanied minors. But I learned yesterday that Graham Farrar, the co-founder and president of Glass House Farms, donated $10,000 to Newsom's 2018 gubernatorial campaign, and that is by far the largest single donation he's ever made. He's given to both parties over the years, like many businessmen do, but the one big one he made was to Governor Newsom. Scott, you and I are both big proponents of federalism, of the states and localities taking care of their local business, and the feds mostly keeping a hand off and doing the only things the federal government is constitutionally supposed to do. But what do you think about a federal investigation into this company and its hiring practices?
Well, the federal government from time to time has to step in and do things that the state won't do or is incapable of doing. And maybe this is one of those times. I don't see that as a political contribution, by the way, that Glass Houses gave to Gavin Newsom. I think of it more like a toll. You're just kind of going through
cost of doing business
through the booth, and you just have to drop the coins in the basket. When you think of it in terms of federal employment law, these are a bunch of people who do not. I mean, Democrats should be outraged at this. They do not enjoy the protections of federal employment law because they're being employed illegally. There are violations of child labor laws, and not to mention—
Which Democrats fought for a century ago, by the way.
And not to mention the fact that there are a bunch of people from another country, picking the pot that Americans won't pick. I mean, this is so wrong in so many ways. I understand why Gavin Newsom is defending his a California business. However, he should be at the forefront of saying, look, if we're going to legitimize the recreational and medical marijuana business, we have to be ethically and legally better than the standard business, because people are going to be looking at us. And, the demands on them, that's the speech he should have made. He should have stood up and said, this is unacceptable. We have hundreds, maybe thousands of businesses similar in California. This business, while I, was grateful for the campaign contribution they made, that doesn't excuse their illegal behavior. We must rise to a higher standard of legality because people are watching you every step of the way. It's an embarrassment, again, for California, but I think California is beyond blushing at this point.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. This is Californians once again getting exactly what they voted for.
Yeah.
And here we have the governor of the largest state in the country that's also one of the richest, if it were its own country, would be one of the richest countries in the world. And here is Newsom willing to pimp out his state to illegal aliens who are also rapists, kidnappers, child molesters, burglars, drunk drivers, and hit-and-run drivers. And Californians are actually cheering this guy on. You can't save a state that won't save itself. And, well, California, things are going to get worse before they get better, but it seems to be the way you like it. So enjoy. That's your right angle on that. Brought to you by the members of BillWhittle.com. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you out in the fields with the kids.